Morals versus ethics. A primer. Mores, customs, and social norms and behaviors are understood as good and others as bad, and these together comprise morality, or the sum of all of our value systems as human and social beings. In short, a clarification about ethical and moral decision-making is important. This is because issues arise when the terms ethics and morals are used interchangeably. The words derive respectively from the Greek ethos, ethikos, and Latin mores, morales, variously translated as customs, manners, and social norms. In this video, I invite you to differentiate the Greek root of ethics from the Latin roots of morality in a helpful and practical way. Accordingly, ethics speaks to decisions based up on individual character and the more subjective understanding of right and wrong by individuals. Morals, on the other hand, pay heed to the widely shared communal or societal norms about right and wrong. Put differently, ethic is an individual view and assessment of values as relatively good or bad, while morality refers to intersubjective community or societal views and assessments of what is just, virtuous, good, or right collectively. The distinction can be seen when asking questions such as, how should I act? And what ought I to do? A broadened to Socrates question, how should we live? Granted, modern society's various identities, cultures, and traditions result in a diverse moral collage with no single truth of morality out there. The overarching moral question is therefore, how ought we, should we live together? In approaching such a question, the individual ethical answer can be limited by its essential egotism. It can be restricted to one's own worldview, rather than being inherently aware of the existence and relevance of others. Since recognition of others is an implicit to moral question, according to the distinction made above, moral questions can and must be answered universally. This requires having a shared conversation discourse, precisely since these questions deal with good, virtuous, right, and the justice for everyone or for larger groups and communities. Put another way, moral decision-making relocates ethical decision-making away from an individualistic reflection on imperatives, utility, or virtue into a societal and social communal space. In that space, one is implicitly aware of the other, wherein we understand from the start that we need to have a dialogue or discourse or conversation. There's a difference between what I should do in an ethical dilemma and what we should do in a moral dilemma. Ethical dilemmas, individual decision-making may draw on the framework of must-do imperatives, utility consequences, the seeking of value and goodness, or a guiding framework from a higher deity, if you will. But ethical decisions should recognize the context in which they are set. That is, they must recognize that duties can be ranked in a hierarchy. For example, to stop at an accident to render assistance trumps the promise of meeting for a coffee with a friend. In a similar way, consequences can be ranked also. In moral decision-making, in which the importance of others in the actual situation in the world is recognized, community decisions are based on dialogue and discourse between all of those on whom the decision has an impact. This conversation should aim to be inclusive, non-coercive, self-reflective, and seek compromise and consensus among the people involved, rather than to seek an absolute and moral truth. As a simple example, consider the decision of which career to choose. First, you collect the facts, such as the prerequisites I need in order to enroll in a course. Collecting the facts precedes any ethical or moral decision-making. The ethical dimension of the decision leads me to think about myself and recognize, for instance, that I have certain talents, certain aptitudes, or that I would like to maximize my work-life experience. The moral dimension is then added when I recognize my decision affects others, my family, my spouse, community in which I reside, in terms of being able to serve others rather than simply earn an income. Thus, to widen my own perspective and discuss with those around me how we should decide. But it is contentious whether certain dilemmas are seen predominantly or exclusively as ethical or moral dilemmas. Just consider euthanasia, homosexuality, suicide, or the Israeli-Palestine conflict, to name a few. Each may be seen by different observers as a dilemma, either for the individual to make a decision about an ethical dilemma, or for society to make a decision about a moral dilemma. How we see the dilemma in large part determines the approach we will take to the decision to be made. That is, whether I think about it via a monologue with myself, the ethical component, or whether we all together enter into a discourse and conversation about it, the moral dimension. There is thus a clear difference between ethics and morals.